really exciting, man. Me and Badger actually go a long way back. We used to skate together about 12, 13 years ago now.
Back in the day.
Way back in the day.
Yeah, man.
And nothing has really changed since then, to be fair. You know, I mean, we went out with the cameras, trying to do some cool shit outside of school.
It was more just skating back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, for you it was. I was on the camera, yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't very good, to be fair. And kind of doing the same thing here now. Anyways, my name is Levy. This is Badger. For those that don't know, or maybe in your own words, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'm Badger. I would say I'm a DJ, producer, and multi-instrumentalist. Yeah, obviously UK Garage is my centre point, the main focus, but I like to think I sort of make and DJ a wide variation of genres sort of around that. So your breaks, obviously 2-step, 4/4 within Garage, love a bit of bass line, and then I like to slip in, be it cheesy classics, like be it original, or something I've maybe chosen that I love that I've made an edit of, to just sort of keep that fun, bouncy, silly element in the dance, because I'm not very cool myself and I'm not going to start pretending to be now.
Yes you are.
So that's I'm an instrumentalist as well, but that's not at the forefront right now. So occasionally you'll hear in my more original stuff, a lot of which is you'll hear this year, and obviously most of you will probably know me for my edits at the moment. But occasionally there'll be vocals or guitar. Obviously keys are very prominent for all producers. So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Beautiful, man. And so, why do you do what you do?
I think music has always been a passion and somewhat of an obsession for me. It's sort of the main thing I've always loved and focused on, apart from maybe skateboarding, which has got a bit more quiet since the gigs have picked up.
Yes.
You know how it goes. But yeah, I've always been obsessed with it. I love all kinds of music. It's never left the front of my mind. So I just sort of went from loving it as a sort of child into making it, starting at the age of 11 in sort of bands and playing guitar, moving on to sort of indie guitar boy phase in my teens, and then through dabbling very briefly and not very well with sort of rap, UK hip hop, grime, a little bit of drum and bass, that kind of thing, and then onto production and DJing. And then I've sort of been Badger for the last 4.5, 5 years, and yeah, I'm really glad I made the switch from, I was sort of pursuing drum and bass for a couple of years before that under the name Marsh. But I just sort of had an epiphany in my last year of uni, like, what do I want to do, what can I see myself doing for many, many years down the road, and I just thought like the variation that Garage has felt right for me, and here we are 4 years after that.
Love that. And he was Goodra as well as a rapper before that.
It was Goodra for rap, yeah, and then Marsh for drum and
Jazz.
bass. Yeah, that's it, and it's a play on my middle name, which is Goodra. My full name's Alex Goodra Marsh. If you swap the good for bad, Goodra becomes Badger, and that's sort of the origin of Badger right now. Yeah.
Hey, there's a clip right there.
That's it. Yeah.
Cool, man. And like, in terms of like, sort of trialing and erroring in the first place with the rap and stuff, was there kind of part of you that was, I don't know, a little bit sort of down about that?
In a way, yeah. I'm pretty impatient as a person, which is something I'm always trying to work on. So every project along the way, I've always really hoped that would be the one that sticks or blows up. And obviously, I've had countless like mini projects that have quickly flopped. So that's been something to work on. Obviously, it's a little bit disheartening, but like now with hindsight, I'm so glad that none of the other projects sort of grew or blew up because I sort of didn't love them a year, anywhere between 6 months and 2 years down the road. But I'm super happy with where I'm at now. So yeah, it's all good, really.
Beautiful, man. That's beautiful. And it's probably an easy, obvious question, obvious answer, but like, is music good for your mind?
Absolutely. I would say almost always, yeah. Whether it's sort of listening to music on your own or on a walk to work, or raving with some mates, or messing around with production, or playing the guitar on your own, I can't really see any negative in it, really.
Yeah.
And it's really good for bringing people together, for communities, for mental health, security, and that kind of thing. So yeah, we got the music.
What about, do you ever find like music itself, or maybe the music scene, or like the demands of it, do you find that they've never been troubling?
I think areas of it can be toxic in certain scenes, and I guess a little bit in the nightclub scene, like it's exhausting, and there's a lot of opportunities to be maybe hedonistic in the club and at the festival and on tour and stuff, so that's always a battle for being mindful to not go too deep into that, because that can end up, if you're not careful, that is the main thing you're thinking about doing instead of the music. So the original reason can sort of get a bit muddled and lost. But yeah, other than that, not really. I'd say by and large it's a pretty great place to be. It's a great sense of community within a lot of like genres and scenes, especially in the UK. We're very lucky and sort of original to have what we have as like UK dance music.
Yeah.
So for the most part, yeah, it's pretty brilliant.
It's one of our finest exports, I believe.
Indeed, yeah, one of the only
good
things.
ones.
That's it, yeah.
They're big, man. And maybe music is a therapy of yours. Do you have any other therapies?
I guess music's quite closely linked to all of them, but yeah, be it like making music by myself is always a good release. Even on like a day off, I'm technically working if I'm sort of working on music, but it's like that's the sort of thing like doing what you love for work doesn't really feel like work. But just on days off when I'm not actually making new music or doing social media stuff, like a long walk with music in the headphones is like that's part of my therapy and my release. So it's like it kind of never goes away, but I'm pretty, like I said, obsessed and focused on it, so it's probably a bit different for other people.
Wicked. I've like kind of fallen in love with running recently, and also like cold showers as well.
Yeah, cold showers and the Wim Hof breathing.
If someone denies it, just I bring it up in every conversation. I'm one of those guys.
No, they're good.
But like something outside of sort of creativity, I found to be like really therapeutic and just like positive for my mind, and also like for like discipline, you know, and like mental well-being. And if I can do that cold shower in the morning, it kind of makes the challenges later in the day kind of easier to approach.
Yeah, you start on something difficult, and then the rest of the day, some
for
things
sure.
that pop up are a
Like
little bit easier.
it's like a no negotiation when I get into the shower. Like, it's going cold now. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then later on the day, if my manager's, do you know what I mean? Or just or a video is really I'm struggling to do. I find it easier because I've like overcome a challenge already in the morning.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that consistency and discipline is like a really important form of self-love. Doing something that you know is good for you that you really don't want to do is like doing that as much as you can. That's definitely changed my life with cold showers again and like Wim Hof breathing, which is just sort of like 10-minute breathing thing. I actually went and sat at the corner of Castle Park and did that on my own with headphones in before I came here because it just clears my mind, sorts me out. Obviously, long train journey, knackered, a little bit ill. So just that 10 minutes with the headphones on, not thinking about anything else, just really is a good reset.
I love that. That's wicked, man. Wim Hof.
That's it, yeah, check it out. Just type Wim Hof breathing into YouTube if you don't know anything about it. Read the rules, follow the video along, it's pretty easy, you feel great after doing it. I've not really missed a day, maybe I've missed the odd day here and there, but other than that, consistently for about 3 years now nearly.
Wow.
Very start of the first lockdown when I discovered it. Haven't really looked back.
Wow, that's really cool, man. That's really cool.
I've done it in some weird places as well, like just doing it before shows. Like I was on the French Alps a couple of weeks ago to play a gig, and I stayed for an extra couple of days and skied. We went to the top of the biggest like sort of slope on the mountain they had, and we did it there, which was added difficulty because obviously the altitude, like it's a bit harder to breathe anyway. So the breath hold, my whole body was tingling, which felt good, but it was more difficult. And probably the strangest one I can think of was on the first night of Glastonbury, I was asked to play the Arcadia Bug, which was, so they only had 2 stages open from, I think, 2 till 3 in the morning. Everything else was chucks. It was the first day. Played that one, I think it was between maybe 6,000 and 8,000 people there. Booming music, the bug was there, and I went and sat like just behind it and put my headphones in with blaring Jump Up in front of me and thousands of people sending it, and just did it there, which that was the weirdest like juxtaposition of like me sat there with my eyes closed to then jumping on stage like 5 minutes after that. But yeah, it's pretty sick.
I love it, honestly, that's amazing. That's so cool to hear.
Yeah.
And well, I guess that's kind of interesting. So you've been doing it in the last 3 years.
Roughly, yeah, give or take a day or two.
And it's kind of in that sort of time, give or take, just a few months, when it seems like you've really blown up. So do you feel like there's any link between those two things?
Maybe the element of mindfulness and focus and consistency and I guess discipline to do it, because you don't always want to do it every day. Most of my mates who I sort of started getting into it with, I don't think maybe any of them do it every day. A couple of them I think do it like once a week, or when I see them and I sort of push them to do it. But I think, maybe that consistency and just that routine, because being a touring sort of musician, there is pretty much no structure. Everything is random timings, different places. So to have that one thing to sort of cling on to, that 10 minutes a day, has probably helped a lot. Yeah, more than I've considered, I imagine.
Well, that's great, man. Do you ever struggle to DJ or make music?
Yeah, you definitely go through phases where you're less motivated, and there's definitely shows I turn up to where I'm knackered on a week where I've got maybe 5 shows or something, and I'm in the hotel room feeling a bit anxious and I really don't want to play. But it's always like the thought of it is almost always much worse than actually doing it. It's that 5 minutes in the hotel when the cab's 2 minutes away and I'm like, I really don't want to do this. But then I'm there and I'm 5 minutes in, look up and there's people raving and smiling at me and I'm like, this is brilliant. I don't know what I was worrying about in my head earlier. So yeah, little things like that for sure.
So you just do it anyway?
Don't really have a choice, so I can't let people down, yeah. Yeah, if I'm booked, man, I'm turning up.
Okay. Well,
non-negotiable.
Love that. So the aforementioned sort of quite meteoric rise that you've had in the past maybe year or two, it seems, for us anyway, the wider culture, looking at this amazing career that you've had, having, I guess maybe socially or for your own self, have you had any like struggles with that? Like maybe taking on a lot more? Is there kind of more expectation? Do you feel like maybe there's more pressure now?
Yeah, definitely. I think socially there's been a huge shift from like a year ago to now. And it was in the last year because I lived in Bristol for 7 years and then moved back to Brighton in like August. So, but probably in the year before that, I moved from a slightly seshy house with a couple of Brighton boys to a sort of older family friend who's a clinical psychologist, and she would be winding down with a film most evenings around 9:30. So I went from this pub 4 nights a week to like a very different environment where I was having to be very conscious of noise and my comings and goings, that kind of thing. So I think that, whilst on one hand is technically kind of boring or a bit dead, it made me focus in like so hard. And I just thought like I'm here now, and those like a lot of my mates have sort of like starting to leave Bristol now. So it's like I'm just going to give it my all for 1 year and see what happens. So there was a lot of sacrifice, and that year I didn't really like go to the pub with friends or even really like watch a film on Netflix. I was working 2-day jobs, work one or sometimes both of those jobs, go home, 10-minute walk around the block, and then just do either music or like making TikToks and stuff or like Instagram reels until I was too tired to look at the screen, go to bed, reset. Did that basically 6 days a week, let's say, for a year, and then I've managed to go full time with it.
There we are. Well, there's the answers. There's the answers. Take those people.
It's all about sacrifice. There's nothing special about me. I'm not a genius, or like I've just put in more hours than a lot of people are willing to do. I think basically that's the only difference.
Well, I think there's a beautiful lesson right there, to be fair, like the discipline and just the hard graft. You know what I mean? So some of those sacrifices. Was that including like the pub and drinking and these sort of
big time, yeah. Things? It went from sort of 2 to 4 nights in the pub a week with friends to maybe like 1 a month. So there was a big sacrifice there, but there's pros and cons to all of it. Like obviously I'm so glad I did that considering where I'm at now. But then even like in the short term, going to the pub once a month, like I really look forward to it. Instead of like, Jesus Christ, it's a day 3, like I need a shot to like get started so I don't feel like tired and anxious. Which is fine to do. Obviously I did that for quite a few years, but I'm glad that I'm away from that now. Yeah, that's part of the journey. Obviously we're Brits in it, we understand. Drinking is a huge part of the culture, for better or for worse. I can't remember what the question was.
Well, luckily I've got another question, so it's all good.
Okay, let's go.
It's about drinking and sobriety really, and how that can be impactful on your mind.
Yeah,
we probably all have got a lot to say about this, to be fair. But how is it for you?
Yeah, it's. I think the thing I just keep in my head now. I'm not trying to like never drink or never sesh. Of course, like it's huge just as British culture and especially in the sort of nightlife and music industry. But I think just trying to actively reduce what you're doing each time helps you get further with like the long term stuff and the real things that bring dopamine release and happiness. So just at gigs, like if I am drinking and then everyone goes for an afters, like I just don't go to the afters. Or like I'm playing in Exeter after this and it's a Thursday and nobody I know is going, so I've set myself like a 2-pint limit or a 3-pint limit. Won't touch the Grey Goose or Vossi or whatever is like provided as part of the rider. Bring that home, give it to a friend or something like that. Just little things like that, and then over a month you'll get like triple the amount done. So it's not like I think like if you're too dramatic with it and saying like I'm never drinking again or like 6 months no drinking or something like that, then the danger is you can sort of like you romanticize the big like sort of relapse type thing where it's it's not working and then you go and have a massive bender off the back of that. Whereas if I'm just like I'm going to drink sometimes, but just like if he's having 6 pints, I'll have 3. That kind of just little things like that.
Doing a little bit at a time.
Yeah, and just a little bit less than you sort of want to.
Yeah.
If you want to send it, half send it. You know, little things like that.
Yeah. Well, like a sort of flip side, I've done a similar thing with that aforementioned running again, but I was never a runner before at all. And the first few weeks, I just really ran like round the block, like just to get out the house. You know what I mean, for a disciplinary sort of vibe. Yeah. But yeah, a few months later, that was turning into 5 miles. You know, but I feel like because like I didn't hit it massively hard straight away. Like I was able to sort of continue on it. So yeah, right. As opposed to going with the drinking, it's like everyone's always like go cold turkey, or New Year, new me. I ain't having a drink again.
Yeah, it's difficult to make that work. I think when it's that dramatic, and I like what you're saying about the running. I think like just starting with yourself gentle and just gradual is often a good way, and just keep in mind where you want to get to and sort of get excited about that end result, but realise that you don't need to rush to get there.
Yeah.
The best. What do people say? The best way to get to where you want is slowly.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And it's just like all this. You get like a little high, but it's more like a long-lasting one, like months later. It's not like an overnight thing, It's not like just one day you do it and then you feel great the next day. It's not like drugs, where it just comes straight away.
Yeah.
It's like a few months later when you do it every day. It's like and now I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Now I enjoy like it's like quite a meditative state I get into.
I can imagine. I'm too lazy for running, to be honest. I've done a couple 5Ks in my life and they nearly killed me both times. But no,
maybe it's because you didn't start by running around the block.
And maybe I went straight into a 5K, yeah.
Problem.
And I felt so terrible I didn't want to do it again.
And you ain't running anymore.
Maybe if I started on a 100-metre jog, did that every day, 5 days a week.
Run to the shop.
Yeah, run to the bus, that kind of thing. But no, yeah, the gradual steps and sort of just enjoying the process and the journey every step of the way, and just having patience with getting there, I think is really important. What is it people say about running as well, like compared to drug use? Like drugs make you feel amazing in the moment and terrible afterwards, and running makes you feel terrible at the time and amazing afterwards. So they're like the opposites of each other.
Man, you're killing it. You're killing it.
Get the come up from that 5K, the natural come up.
Wisdom, brother. Your wisdom and rhythm.
This is just from motivational TikToks and stuff. Yeah. I think that as well, like that's in a weird way, like everybody says limit your screen time, which is I totally stand by and agree, but I've sort of like trained my algorithms, because I'll probably do about 18 hours a week on trains, so it's like a part-time job is like sitting on the train for me, and I've just really trained my algorithms to be either like funny dogs doing zoomies or like really motivational quotes, and just like stuff about what we've been talking about, trusting the process and working hard and sacrificing for end results and stuff like that. So I'm sort of just on these train journeys where I'm too tired to make music or my laptop's dead or something, I'm just like watching these kind of things and they're going in and it's working. And I send things like that to my friends at home in Brighton and they take the piss out of me. But for me it's really worked, honestly.
I think that's a good point as well, to be fair, and kind of leads me on to my next question about social media. But I think social media doesn't have to be like a dangerous place, it doesn't have to be an unhealthy place. It can be, and it can be just really volatile and just show us all these things that we aren't, like the media does very well. But as you say, like we can change our feeds and just unfollow the shit and follow the good stuff,
Definitely.
And we don't have to feel guilty about like because I feel bad when I scroll for ages, do you know what I mean? And so I feel like I've wasted time. But if that scrolling time has been, purposeful things, then it's not so bad. But if it's like shit and just random, like just a waste of time.
Yeah, definitely. You just got to be mindful of what you're following and what you're consuming, and don't feed into toxic things. Like if there's like for me as well, just trialing and erroring like almost every day with posting on TikTok and Instagram, I've learned a lot about like algorithmic science and stuff like that. And if there's something you don't like or don't want to see, move on from it as quickly as possible. Even if it's something like juicy and toxic that you want to stay on. if you're watching like 80 plus.
No, we don't need to.
Gossip things and I don't know, just gossipy stuff and stuff. Well, I mean, it's easy to get addicted to things that kind of make you feel bad as well, or make you feel not good enough. And then you sort of keep going back to that. But anyway, if something pops up like that and you're watching more than 60% of the video, and then even worse if you're like leaving a comment or anything like that, because you're telling the algorithm like, oh, this stuff is going to make this person stay on this app for longer, and then we can make more money off adverts that this person's seeing without realising. So if something toxic comes up, just flick away as quickly as you can. And if something you really like comes along, maybe just put your phone on the side and let it loop a couple times, save it. Do that a few times and then you'll see loads of that stuff flooding in because you've told the app that you're staying on there with these things that are positive. And then that's how I kind of train my algorithm to be 70% inspirational quotes.
Beautiful, man. Love that. You're dropping game on us right now. Dropping game. Not just a DJ. It's beautiful. Right, I've got like a couple more questions and then we'll open to the floor, basically, if anyone else wants to, or has thought of a question maybe. That chance will shortly come.
Bring it on.
But really kind of just more of a general question about yourself. I mean, you kind of really answered it already, to be fair, but we always like to ask people, what they do if they're not feeling okay?
Yeah, I think a lot of the things that we sort of covered, like the Wim Hof breathing is so good for it. If I'm in a bad place, I'll up it to like, instead of doing the sort of 10-minute breathing technique, like once a day, I'll do it up to like 3 times or 4 times in a day. Do it in the morning as soon as the thing I like to do in the morning, especially on an off day, it's like a triple combo of sort of like natural buzz. So I wake up, go downstairs, don't look at my phone for as long as possible. Hour is great. Yeah. They do say like wait a bit for caffeine as well, but I struggle to do that. So I wake up, go downstairs, make a coffee, put it on the side, go and have a normal hot shower, and then 90 plus seconds, as cold as it will go. By the time I'm out of the shower, the coffee is a downable level. Down the coffee, and then open the laptop, do the Wim Hof breathing techniques, which takes 10-15 minutes. So then by the time I'm finishing the breathing, the caffeine is metabolizing. So I've got the cold shower and the caffeine and the breathing. And then you're ready to go. It's that triple that's mad.
You're a really mindful guy.
But there's nothing unhealthy. Maybe coffee and sugar is a little bit unhealthy. I put honey in the coffee. But in the grand scheme of things, that's a pretty healthy way to get a nice buzz.
That's quality. That's great.
It does work, honestly.
Wow. Inspirational, man. Great answer, man. And then about your friends, what do you do if your friend's not feeling okay?
Yeah, just get talking as much as you can. It's obviously generally more difficult with the blokes, so you have to think about the right way to approach it in a way that feels like it's with love, and you're not sort of like cornering them or calling them out for anything. So even if it's just subtly bringing something up, or really briefly bringing something up, and then you soften it with like gassing them up about something else. It's hard to think of a specific example, but that kind of thing I do in my head. Just spending time, reaching out, keep conversations going, letting mates know that you're there if and when they need you. I guess relating it to your own sort of experience without making it about you. So it's sort of like they don't feel weird or like they're the only one feeling that. That helps, as long as it doesn't become me. Yeah. Yeah, and just meet up with them maybe try and meet in a way that's like not the pub, because obviously that's the easiest thing to do for people our kind of age in England. Let's go pub, but that's maybe not always what people need, because pub can lead to other things and late nights, and there's a domino effect there. So yeah, just meet for a walk or something like that, or yeah, if needs be, pub, but just keep it chill, couple pints, and then say let's go, or let's go home and cook a meal, something like that. But yeah, just connection and communication are definitely the most important things there.
Love that. I think listening is like a massive thing for me, really, to be fair. But it's difficult, you know. I feel like sometimes you got to kind of know the person in it, you know. You got to kind of understand their rhythm, and also maybe the day they're having. I think because sometimes it's good to listen and just let them get it all out. But sometimes they need to be guided to and ask certain questions. I feel like to help get it out.
Yeah.
You know, because some people can be really reluctant, or even me. Like I can feel really. Sometimes I just don't want to say anything at all. Yeah. And I always think about one of my best mates, Elvis, who he tells a story about one time when he was really down. He just called his boy up and was like, "Look, I don't want to talk about it. Can you just tell me something completely irrelevant? Can you just tell me a story that just doesn't make any sense and just take my mind off it completely?" Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes distraction is a really good option.
Distraction can be really good.
I mean, yeah. Sometimes if you're feeling really worried or anxious about something, focusing on it and like talking about it is not a good idea. Yeah. So sometimes a nice distraction.
It can, especially in the moment as well, because if I'm feeling quite like hot about something, talking about it in the moment can almost make me sort of more fiery about it, you know. Yeah. And then I can get do you know what I mean? But that's why I feel like it's good maybe like the day later to talk about it and then say, about yesterday. Yeah. But also importantly as well, I think just creating the culture, even if it's between two people, of just that it's okay. You know, it's okay if you want to say some shit, you know what I mean? And I think the way that I like to do that is just kind of letting shit out myself, you know? Like being that example and being honest with myself. Because I feel like when you see like your best mate be really, really honest about something, it makes you want to do the same.
It's inspiring and encouraging, definitely. And that's what I was talking about with the sort of like, because it's lucky that you have friends that just like are really open, like I'm not doing well, can we talk about it? But most people need some prompting. So I think that's definitely like finding the right way to do that is good. If you get the feeling, then you can sort of just like gently be like, yo, well, like, you good? What you're saying like is a bit of an off day, is it? Or something in that area, and then sort of build on that if they're letting a bit out, you know?
Yeah, man. And we lead by example as well, I think, through that. And this is what we're really trying to do here. And so that kind of brings us, I think, to a little bit of a close.
I thought, thank you, everyone.
I really love some of your answers, man. Honestly,
Thank you, appreciate that.
Really good to hear, especially with the Wim Hof stuff and that very specific, regimented morning routine you have.
I mean, I don't always manage to stick to it, but like when I can, it's great.
I love it though. I love it.
Yeah, the option's there when I need it.
I've got one more question, which is always the final question for us, and then if anyone else wants to ask something as well, now would be the time. But just for the people, UKG.
I would say overall I'm good. I'm pretty tired. I'm a little bit lonely, but I'm feel overwhelmingly lucky and grateful to be doing what I love for a living. So yeah, no complaints really. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, man.
Nice one. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it, sir.
Does anyone have a question for the esteemed gentleman over here?
I've got a question.
Alright, let's hear it. Go for it.
Okay. Right, listen up.
Hit me.
Bristol or Brighton?
Remember where you're from.
Remember your roots, boy.
Honestly, Bristol's better. Really. I mean, for the music scene, for the culture, it's bigger, it's more diverse. Like, and I miss Bristol, but I did 7 years here, and I sort of, in my head, did everything I set out to. Sort of moving here, starting a music production degree, with the goals of performing around the city and building a fan base. I feel like I've sort of done that. And yeah, I think with the last year I was here just sort of, like I said, in solitude, just either working a day job or making music or TikToks. Like, I was sort of just paying rent to be in a room, and it's like I could be anywhere to do this. So yeah, moved back to Brighton about 5 months ago, but I'd say Bristol takes the winning spot, I've got to be honest. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm heartbroken, man. But yeah, I think you've got good reasoning, to be fair.
Yeah.
Bristol was kind of known to be like a just better Brighton, amplified Brighton.
Yeah, Brighton's gorgeous though. It's been great being back. Yeah.
Bristol ain't got a beach though.
That's the big difference. Yeah, the river doesn't quite cut it water-wise. It's good to have the water-based city, but yeah, that's the one area where Brighton definitely takes the winning spot.
Anyone else got something to ask?
When it comes to having those moments where you have like writer's block and you can't get anything kind of down into whatever like you're using to produce, what would you say is like a good thing to do to, you know, is it music related? Is it completely not music related? I've been told to stare at a wall for 10 minutes and don't do anything else, so, you know.
Yeah, I think there's no right or wrong answer with what works. Definitely not beating yourself up and not putting pressure on yourself. If you beat yourself up about it, it just probably will get worse, to be honest. What I like to do is try and like find and listen to things like so far away from what I make, and then just try and find tiny little things within that genre that makes me like it and want to keep listening, and then sort of reinterpret that idea onto my own sort of sound. Boredom is good, like whoever gave you that advice said, because boredom definitely like opens up the space for your subconscious mind to like let things pop out. Filling it with screen time and Netflix and stuff like that probably isn't the right idea unless you're like actually really burnt out and you need to just rest. But yeah, a long walk, listening to music miles away from what I make. Yeah, and just take it easy and not worrying too much, and sort of just remembering and believing that is going to stop. I think it's Tom Hanks in that interview says like, this too shall pass. Yes. Whether you're absolutely smashing it and you feel like everyone gets you, you're top of the game, like this too shall pass. And if you feel like you're down in the dumps, nothing's going right, like the world is crashing in, like this too shall pass. Like, so if you're in a good place or a bad place, just remember like it's not going to stick around forever. So it's all good.
Love that. Have you got any examples of that music that's really far from what you make?
I mean, I love listening to indie music, which is obviously not very related to garage, but a lot of people do say that like indie melodies and chords and soundscapes do bleed over into my productions. Maybe stuff like, I don't know, certain like weird subgenres of jazz and stuff like that. And just also something I've been trying to do recently, like I'm sure we've often had the experience of waking up with a tune in our heads. What I do on those days where I'm able to like go and listen to the whole album that tune is on, or if it's a single, go on the Spotify radio of that and just like let it run and see what else is in there. Because in my head it's like maybe that tune coming into my mind, like it wanted me like, what, I don't know, I'm not an atheist, but like
from above.
I don't believe in a God, but I believe in, I don't know, some things have happened to me that are just too good to be like like there's nothing else out there. Do you know what I mean? So it's like in my head, it's like maybe there's something in that album that's actually like 4 tunes down the line from the one that was in my head this morning that's like going to spark the inspiration for the next tune I make that might be a hit. But
Cool.
maybe I haven't explained that very well. But like,
No,
yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Cool, man. Cool. Anybody else? Of course.
Go for it. Thank you as well.
Just when you're like, when you're at home and all of your friends are like at the pub and you're like focusing on music, did you get like loneliness? How did you like deal with it and that kind of thing?
Definitely, yeah, good question, and definitely a bit of the loneliness, and I'm getting better, but I used to be a massive sufferer of FOMO. But I think it's remembering that like at the time you feel like you're missing out a bit and you're a bit lonely and stuff, but then in the morning when you wake up and everyone's really hungover and they've got KFC on the way from Uber Eats and you're going for a walk and like getting shit done, that's like, it's deferring your gratification in a way. They all feel terrible the next day and they're down like 40 quid and they've got nothing to do for the day, and I've had like 7 hours sleep and I've got loads of ideas running around my head and stuff like that. So it's just remembering that like I don't feel good now, but I'm going to feel better in the long run for not doing this. But it's a struggle, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Important question, I think,
Yeah.
for sure. That FOMO, definitely think we can all relate to, for sure. Anybody else? I've got one. Two more questions?
Couple more, nice.
Got a couple more?
Let's do it.
Man over here, repping the finest garb, best hoodie in the place.
Hey.
Try my best. There you go, just about. What's happening? You said when you're not in a great mood, you still make music to sort of make yourself feel better. What's the main difference between music that you make when you're in a bad mood and in a good mood? Is it more aggressive when you're upset, and like, do you make more when you're in a good mood?
I would say that's a good question as well, man. I would say if anything, it's sadder and it's definitely kind of like deeper. So I would say like post-festival within those sort of blues. I've made like honestly some of my most interesting music. Just your head's in such a different place, and like almost like romanticising that sadness. Go on a walk and I'm sort of like feeling really sorry for myself, and then go home and sit down with that mindset and just like this much more. It's never too heavy. I would never really feel like angry after a night out, but definitely like the sadness and the loneliness, and you just like over deep tiny things. And just take that energy and put it into music, because that's something I think we all feel a lot. So like listening to that music when you feel like that is definitely going to hit with like almost everyone a couple of days a month. So yeah, it has worked, to be honest, and it's a nice silver lining to instead of just sitting around feeling sorry for myself, I'm like getting these sort of very different sounds to what I would usually make out onto a project.
Love that. And then the last question before Badger to get his train.
Go for it, man.
Come on, cuz.
So obviously you talked about using other genres when you're producing if you get stuck in a hole. Is there any other like secret sources, like plugins that you use to get out of situations when you can't think of an idea for tracks?
That's a really good question as well. I guess I haven't thought about that too much, but I would say sometimes, yeah. Sometimes like if I'm in a bit of a throwaway mood, I'll just be like ridiculous with the like distortion on the mastering chain, or just like crushing things in a ridiculous way, just feeling very like lethargic, but just sort of going for it anyway. And sometimes that just like I'll just like chuck like 3 decapitators, which is like a big like distortion sort of plug-in, chuck 3 of those on the master bus and see what happens, and then this really interesting sort of like lo-fi master aesthetic comes out. So I feel like you can always look for the opportunities and the benefits and the silver linings of where you're at, whether it's a good place or not a very good place. It's just looking for it and sort of reframing the headspace, I think. But yeah, that's a good question. I'll think about that more as I work, because I'm sure a clearer answer will pop out. Nice one, man.
And then any more questions, we'll have to wait for part 2.
We've got one more. Should we do one more?
One more, go on then.
What's the mic over? Yeah, nice one.
Is there anything recently you discovered you love?
Whoa.
Great question.
That's casting the net wider. I would say in the last year, probably from now bang on a year, I've discovered that it's alright to be by myself, and just maybe falling a bit more in love with just like me time and being on my own. In previous years, like FOMO and insecurities and stuff like that, the easiest thing to do is mask it with the pub and being out all the time and being super extroverted And I've done the, I think it's called the Myers-Briggs test, where you answer those like hundreds of multi-choice questions, and it gives you a percentage, introvert, extrovert, and I did it 3 times because I didn't believe it, and bang on, it was 50-50 bang on each time. But obviously the way I've been living was probably about 95% extrovert. So I think in this year, making the sacrifices to do what I need to do on my own with music, I've realised like it's all right. It doesn't like I don't always have to be at the pub. Like it's not going anywhere. Like a few mates, you know, going to the pub, or like that's like there's going to be a sesh next month. If you don't go this month, it's all right. And just going on a long walk on my own, listening to tunes and thinking about stuff when everyone else is like sending it at a club, like that's all right. Yeah. So maybe I'm getting a bit more. I've discovered that I love spending time with myself more than I realised before.
That was beautiful.
Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it. Big love. Uncle Dad.
Oh, man.
Nice one, guys.
I'm really glad we got that last question in.
That was great. Thank you again.
Finally, yeah.
Really
Thank you
enjoyed
so
that, man.
much.
All right, you guys going to run some tunes now then?
We are indeed. We've got a couple of DJs upstairs. Yeah, and just to sign off, this has been EOTT. This has been Badger. And I know we all thought you were a legend anyway, but I think even more so now, getting to see the inside, super inspiring, man.
Thank you very much, everyone. Let's hear it for EOTT.
Cool. And now, yeah, we go back upstairs and dance.